At this point, I've spoken extensively about how the sun is your reflection, and we mirror its journey through the houses, and so on and so forth. Gave you examples, decodes, the cardinal points, the lot, yeah. But again, if we revisit the Hermetic principles, we know that, as within, so without. We're looking at a reflection and a projection. So if we do see the moon, which is the same size as the sun, as it appears to us, go and argue with whatever the fuck you want, bro. Like, it's not something you can argue with. Like, why do we get solar eclipse, bro? Like, do you think a big bang, in the middle of nowhere, bro, do you think a big bang in the middle of nowhere can create the conditions for you to have a sun and a moon that kind of eclipse each other perfectly, creating a corona every so often? And we have records since time began which confirm this. If you believe that, you really need to get your brain checked, bro. Your brain's obviously not working. Anyway, let's focus. So, although the journey of the sun applies to both the masculine and feminine, there is consciousness obviously appears in a dual form here, yeah, because consciousness is dual in nature, yeah. So consciousness's inherent duality manifests in what we call the masculine and feminine, yeah. Once again, this is a fact, okay? So the very dual nature of consciousness, i.e. light and shadow, spirit and matter, also manifests as what we know as, or what we call or refer to as the masculine and feminine, yeah. It always reveals the dual nature of itself. So the fact that we see a moon, which also is the same size as the sun, is in this kind of dance with the sun, yeah. Although it's revolving around the sun, it kind of has this it's very similar to the sun, yeah, insofar as it also travels through the houses. It also kind of waxes and wanes, although the sun doesn't wax and wane. It's the sun's kind of like birth and death can be seen as a waxing and waning of its power, yeah. If you look at it, the moon also experiences that. So it's almost as if the sun and moon together symbolize the dual nature of consciousness, yeah, with the sun primarily being the masculine aspect and the moon being the feminine aspect, yeah. So the sun represents essentially the masculine path, which is of active creation and self-realization. This also applies to both of us. It's not a sex exclusive thing, okay? So please pay attention. And the moon representing the feminine path, which speaks of cycles, reflection, and deep inner knowing, yeah. I keep telling you, like, if you've been following my shit, I keep telling you, the females, you have like powers that if you tapped into those powers truly from your authentic perspective, you become something else, believe me. Anyway, so the same way the sun moves through the 14 houses is the same as how consciousness also moves through different stages of growth, transformation, death, and rebirth, yeah. The moon also does the same thing. This is what we call the hero's journey, yeah, and it's embodied in myths and stories and legends, such as Jesus Christ, Osiris, Mithras, Krishna. The list is pretty extensive. These are the solar deities, yeah. And I've spoken about this extensively anyway, so I'm not going to go over it. But when we look at the moon's journey is the embodiment of cycles, which is the feminine, yeah. So when you look at that, what do you see? We see that the moon being the same size as the sun in our sky suggests balance and reflection. Oh, matrix stuff. Some guy just put on a fucking construction thing. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, so what was I saying? The moon and sun are the same size, at least from our vantage point, and this suggests balance, yeah, and reflection. They are almost, you can be seen as two sides of the same coin, yeah, equals and opposites, and they mirror each other, yeah. It suggests the balance of consciousness and its inherent duality, yeah. The moon also moves through the same 14 houses, but in a different fashion than the masculine, yeah. The masculine travels through the houses in a very linear way, yeah, because the masculine's path is a very long one, yeah. The loop around the houses for the masculine is a long one. The loop through the houses for the feminine, i.e. the moon, is very short. So the moon spends about what, 2.5 days, 3 days in each house. So it's very intimate, very short, but it's also very intense, yeah. Whereas with the masculine spends 10 times as much time in each house, yeah. Okay, I'll also explain this in a 3D and show you how, yeah, I'll explain in a 3D sense as well, but just bear with me. So like I was saying, the lunar cycle also mirrors the menstrual cycle, yeah, which ties women's bodily rhythms to cosmic patterns, yeah. That alone, to me, is kind of like, it's like this point alone in itself is the final point, because there is no way your Big Bang, yeah, evolution bullshit bullcrap story could ever create a condition where an explosion in the middle of nowhere, you know, spontaneously creating water and sand and oceans and wind and thunderstorms and cyclones and hurricanes and squid and fucking octopuses and all types of shit, yeah, could create a condition where a revolving satellite, as they say, around where we live can be so locked in step with the female body that when that thing is going through its waxing and waning cycles, women also go through a waxing and waning cycle where they actually shed, you know, they have a menstrual cycle where they actually shed the old lining of their, what do you call it, their uterus or whatever it is, their womb stuff, yeah. It's crazy, bro. It's literally nuts. It's nuts, bro. And also, the moon's waxing and waning reflect the process of emotional depth that women have, yeah? Intuition, fertility, and release. Because that's female nature, yeah? And when it comes to eclipses, when the sun and moon align, it symbolizes moments of deep transformation where the masculine and feminine merge in a balance, yeah. That's why when eclipses happen, it's so important collectively for us as a whole. So is the moon's journey, so as I've proven, the journey of the sun is the journey of consciousness. The journey of the moon is also a journey of consciousness, which means that us being, with the masculine being the masculine being attributed or linked to the sun, then the female is linked to the moon. So yes, it does reflect the journey of the woman. So when we look at that, like, how can we break it down to confirm that? So when we look at the moon's journey, right, it reflects the feminine experience, right? One for one. Is one of cycles rather than straight line progression. Straight line progression is very masculine, yeah. The action orientation, direct force. I've spoken about this extensively back along. Go and check out my other shit. But the masculine is very direct in its expression of energy, whereas the female is very indirect. So although the journey of the moon is one of cycles, it's also not one of straight line progression, yeah. And women embody creation, destruction, and renewal within their bodies. The alchemical process goes on with them. Also emotions and spiritual development. So just as the sun dies and resurrects, right, so does the womb shed and renew. yeah, holding the wisdom of nature's rhythms or consciousness's pattern, yeah. So the cycle is one that we can't run away from. So yes, the sun will die and resurrect, but the moon dies and resurrects every month. The sun does it once a year, whatever a year means. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the sun cycle. So the sun has a cycle where it has to die and resurrect. The moon dies and resurrects every cycle. It's like there are 13 of those cycles of birth. What's all this fucking noise, man? Anyway, so there are 13 there are 13 of these cycles within one moon cycle, yeah. So it just shows that there are multiple layers of, you know, that one cycle within the bigger cycle of the sun's motion, you know. So yeah, the womb will also shed and renew. Yeah, so if the sun represents the awakening of the mind, yeah, then the moon represents the awakening of the body and the spirit, yeah. So again, we can split this down the middle of spirit and matter. So the sun can represent the awakening of spirit, yeah, and the moon can represent the awakening of the body, because the moon cycle is literally attached to or connected to physical matter in the menstrual cycles, yeah. So any questions? Okay, cool. So both journeys are intertwined and both are necessary for the full evolution of consciousness, you know. So yeah, when you look at the sun, it moves through the zodiac houses in a linear fashion over 360 days or whatever it is. But the moon moves much more quickly, yeah, completing the cycle in 28 days, because the moon actually has a shorter loop around the houses, yeah. That's why the moon's analemma is different from the solar analemma, but I can talk about this another time. Somebody should remind me. So yeah, the moon spends, like I said, about 2.5 days in each zodiac house, which creates a shorter and more intimate journey compared to the sun. While the sun represents a linear progression, yeah, the moon represents a continuous cycle of emotional and spiritual phases, yeah. Birth, growth, decay, renewal. Birth, growth, decay, renewal. Like, it's constantly doing it, yeah. So the evolution of the moon is a constant one, whereas the sun has one large cycle, yeah, and then it goes through the stages through one. Whereas the you know, so if you think about it in terms of waves, yeah, the masculine wave is one big wave, whereas the female wave is one, like, it's multiple peaks and troughs within that one of the sun. I'll try and do a visual. I know what I'm saying. So yeah, each month the moon repeats the journey, symbolizing reincarnation, cycles of learning, and the ever-changing nature of feminine energy, yeah. So I think in a nutshell, I'm just kind of like, it just came to me. I was on a walk and I just thought about it. I thought, yeah, actually, I've been meaning to make a video on the moon actually for like fucking weeks now, but I keep forgetting. But yeah, so in the same way I showed you that the myths and legends talk about Jesus, Osiris, Mithras, Krishna as them being solar deities, there are also lunar deities, yeah. And Mary is a lunar deity, because if you look at it, it's like it's usually deeply linked with the moon, because the word itself connects man, I hate when this happens, guys. I'm gonna finish this later on, man. Fuck this. Yeah, so I don't remember where I got to in the previous recording, so I'm just going to try and freestyle this as best as I can. But basically, I'm talking about the moon's journey through the 14 houses. We've already discussed the sun's journey quite extensively and covered most bases. But essentially, this is the feminine path of awakening, because consciousness is dual in nature. Consciousness, if it's not dual, it's just all there is, yeah. It has to be dual in order for it to be able to experience itself, yeah, i.e. spirit and matter, life and death, light and dark, sound and silence, yeah. That's how it does it. Okay, don't argue with me, just know the truth for what it is. Okay, cool. So the moon, just like the sun, yeah, follows a journey through the 14 houses. You should know by now that there are 14 zodiac signs, not 12, that like the mainstream will tell you. I think the other two signs are Ophiuchus and Cetus. Yeah, so that's what makes up the ecliptic band. Okay, and as the moon traverses or travels through the 14 houses, it traces an arc that mirrors the path of feminine consciousness, yeah, cycles and awakening. Now, while the sun represents active creation, you remember what I told you, the direct kind of expression of energy and the indirect expression of energy, the direct being the masculine and the indirect being the feminine. Yeah, the sun represents the active principle, the active or direct creation and external mastery. Yeah, mastery over the external world. The moon governs internal cycles, yeah, intuition, emotions, and transformation, all from within, and these are all attributes of the divine feminine. Okay, now this journey is basically an allegory. By the same time, we see it happening above our heads, right? Which confirms that we are essentially looking at a reflection / a projection, yeah, because it's happening, it's us that's actually happening. So although it's an allegory, it's actually a factual thing. We can see it every night, yeah. If we pay attention, we will see it traveling through the houses, yeah. Now the journey itself, like I said, is an allegory for the whole process of womanhood, yeah, rebirth and the phases of inner awakening. So we're going to break it down esoterically, my dentures, numerologically and astrologically. Now, so the first part we're going to discuss is the moon and womanhood, yeah, so the divine feminine in motion. So unlike the sun, which follows a steady and predictable course, yeah, a linear path through the houses, the moon follows a slightly different course. Its course is slightly cyclical, yeah. It doesn't actually spend like the sun spends on average a month in each house roughly, whereas the moon spends about 2.5 days per house. Now here's where you work things out and you will see that your calendars are all wrong, because if there are 14 houses and the moon is spending 2 days in each, that leaves you with how many days? 28 days a cycle, yeah. So your whole calendar breaks down right there. I've just showed you. Okay, now the moon, so the sun follows a steady and predictable course. The moon doesn't do that. The moon actually changes shape, and it also moves faster, and it moves in a cycle, yeah. And so the moon changes shape as it's traveling through the houses, yeah, from new moon to full moon, i.e. birth, growth, decline, death, rebirth, yeah. So the whole cycle is repeated, but then as the moon is doing the cycle, it physically shows it doing it, going through the cycles, yeah. Also, the moon moves faster through the houses, yeah. Like I said, it spends about 2 days, 2.3 days, if we're gonna split hairs about it, 2.3 days in each house, which is basically a fairly rapid evolution, which mirrors a woman's emotional depth and changeability. This is not a negative, by the way, it's a good thing. Now, what's all this noise? And like I said, it's cyclical in nature, the journey. So just as women experience monthly cycles, you know, in the lunar month, you know, there are cycles of fertility, emotions, and intuition, yeah? Okay. Whereas the sun's 14 house journey represents external mastery, like I said, and Christ consciousness. The moon's path represents inner transformation, the journey from unconscious to full embodiment of feminine power. Okay, cool. Now, the 14 houses and the feminine awakening journey. How do we break that down even further? The 14 house path is the roadmap of spiritual evolution. Like I said to you, I did in the sun videos when I spoke about the 14 stations of the cross and how the journey, Christ's journey to awakening, is your journey to actually awakening or enlightenment. And the 14 house, the roadmap is the same, but this time is just through the lens of the feminine, because it mirrors the transformation from maiden, mother, to crone, yeah? And the phases of self-discovery, shadow work, and full enlightenment, yeah? And also the emotional, spiritual, and the subconscious initiations a woman must go through in order to reclaim her power. Guys and girls, this is super important, okay? So I'm going to say this one more time. The 14 house path, yeah, i.e. the 14 constellations of the ecliptic, is the roadmap of your spiritual evolution, okay? The 14 houses are not just arbitrary bullshit that's just there that doesn't mean anything, okay? They are archetypes. I've explained this extensively in the Sun video series. If you've not checked it out, go check it out and then come back. So they're all super important. And for looking at the roadmap through the feminine lens, yeah, the 14 houses or the roadmap mirrors the transformation, yeah, from the feminine aspect, from maiden, yeah, pure innocence, mother, yeah, fertile, portal to new realities, and to crone, yeah. Okay. And the phases of self-discovery, shadow work, and full enlightenment, it shows you the cycle, yeah, and also the emotional, spiritual, and subconscious initiations a woman must pass through in order to reclaim her power, because you can't actually evolve without going through the initiations and reclaiming your power. Yeah, it's a journey. Okay, now let's break this down into 7 phases, right? The 7 phases of the moon, yeah, each representing 2 houses in the moon's journey, right? So the first phase is the innocence, yeah? The innocence is the new moon, houses 1 and 2, yeah? This represents birth and potential before life's conditioning, yeah? This is, guys, I'm going to stop here. This, what I'm telling you here, is the path to awakening from the feminine perspective. So please take note. This is important. Okay, so phase 1, yeah, i.e. the innocence, which is houses, the new moon in houses 1 and 2, represent birth and potential before life's conditioning. Yeah, the woman as the innocent child, full of dreams, untainted by limitations or programming. Yeah, the moon is completely dark, hidden. Yeah, it mirrors unawakened potential. Yeah, phase 2 is the awakening, the waxing crescent. Yeah, houses 3 and 4. The first realizations about self, emotions in the world, adolescence, early womanhood, self-discovery, love, heartbreak, lessons, yeah? The feminine is now learning duality, light and shadow, questioning authority, exploring intuition, yeah? Phase 3, the rising, i.e. the first quarter. This is houses 5 and 6. The moon gains power, mirroring a woman stepping into her strength, yeah? This is where if the woman is not in her positive aspect, she could use her power the wrong way and use it like a whore, basically. So as the moon gains power and the woman steps into her strength, this talks about sexuality, creation, and personal authority, the development of these areas, yeah? Now the woman would test boundaries, yeah, test choices, relationships, preparing for deeper truths, right? Then there's phase 4, the full bloom, full moon, houses 7 and 8. This is the full manifestation of feminine power, the peak of her cycle. Woman as the goddess, mother, and creator, but also facing opposition, often linked to childbirth, nurturing, or the realization of spiritual purpose, yeah? So with just like how the sun going through the 14 houses, or Christ going through the 14 stations of the cross, this is the same for the feminine. Even as it's achieving its power, there's opposition. Yeah, it's one and the same. Just like the sine wave starts from birth, reaches a peak, and then it then has to go into a trough, and then the cycle recontinues, is the same. Okay, so we talk about phase 5, which is the descent. Waning gibbous, houses 9 and 10. This is the beginning of loss. Yeah, shedding of illusions, the ego death, facing betrayals, heartbreaks, and the dark night of the soul. The shadow feminine also emerges at this point. Yeah, Kali, Lilith are 2 prime examples. The untamed goddess. Yeah, phase 6, these are just archetypes anyway, Kali and Lilith. Yeah, all right. Now we talk about phase 6, which is the death, the last quarter, houses 11 and 12. This mirrors or talks about the death of the old self, false identity, yeah, former attachments. At this point, a woman realizes she's not her roles. Yeah, she's not wife, mother, daughter, lover. She is eternal consciousness. Yeah, she's not the labels. She's beyond the labels. She is consciousness in human form. The labels are human. Okay, now at this point, the woman confronts the darkest aspects of the self. Yeah, and this is where she encounters deep spiritual tests. Now, phase 7, this is the resurrection, the waning crescent, houses 13 and 14. The crone, the wise old woman, reborn in full knowledge of self. Yeah, the return to pure intuition and the detachment from illusion. At this point, there's the acceptance of oneness with the universe and the preparation to restart the cycle. Yeah, rebirth basically becomes the doorway, yeah, for a new version of the self to now re-enter and the cycle to continue. So I've just showed you how the wave in the feminine aspect actually manifests. Now, in terms of numerology and the esoteric symbolism of the moon's 14-stage journey. Now, if you think about it, 14 is 1 and 4, which basically speaks of new beginnings and structure and foundation, right? And 7 is the halfway point, you know. And also the moon rules Cancer. Yeah, the mother, the nurturer, and the protector. Women are tied to the moon cycle, emotionally, biologically, and energetically. Yeah, that in itself is a giveaway. If you think that you live on Earth and you also hold this belief to be true, you have cognitive dissonance. Your brain is not working. Okay, because it's not possible for the story of Earth to check out, and at the same time for you to be tied to the cycle of this thing that just happens to be undergoing a journey which you as consciousness and form will also, or not will, is also undergoing in human form. Yeah, it's a massive cognitive dissonance anyway. But even that, there's also the analemma of the moon, yeah, which similar to what the sun traces. It also traces a looping figure of 8, yeah, over time. The same symbol of infinity, cycles, and rebirth. But the moon's numerology, because the letters M, O, O, and N, when you actually break them down to the root number, you get 3. Yeah, just like the sun, when you break it down, you get 33. That's in the other video, because once you add up the numbers and you break them down to their root numbers, you get 3. Okay. Then there's also, right, so women, just like the moon, they experience periods of darkness, invisibility, and renewal. Yeah, phases that men, i.e. sun energy, don't undergo in the same way. It's the same also in the same, like the way the women aren't expected to show up all the time. Yeah, even in our 3D world, like even in conflict and combat, we always protect the women and children. And that's why I'm got sidebar. That's why when all these feminists and these fucking crazies are talking, I just look at them like they're literally talking shit, because like energetically, the things that we are bound or connected to, yeah, celestially, reveal our true natures to ourselves. So it's like The very notion of trying to place both energies in the same kind of arena never works. Yeah, one energy is dominant during the day, the other energy is dominant during the night. Yeah, they have two different realms of control. Yeah, it's two separate worlds altogether. Yeah, the feminine energy has the ability to actually show up in the masculine world, although when it shows up, i.e. seeing a full moon during a day or whatever, or seeing a moon, its power is it's not comparable to the power of the sun, right? But it can actually show up during the day, which reveals the counterpart nature of the masculine and feminine. Yeah, they can travel together in the male's domain, if you like, but in the domain of the female, that's her domain. Do you understand? So we're not the same, bro. Do you understand? And that's why, there's so many different examples I can give you in a 3D, but I don't want to go off track anyway. So just as the moon must disappear to be reborn, yeah, women must also pass through internal deaths in order for them to fully awaken to their divine power. Women must go through heartbreak. They must go through betrayals. They must go through self-loss. They must go through ego deaths. Yeah, that's what I told you previously in the videos I made about the divine feminine. You must kill your ego. You must kill it. It has to die in order for you to be reborn. If you don't kill it, you will not be reborn. Yeah, you will die to make way for another energy to take your place, but the cycle will continue. Okay, so it's up to you what you want to do with it. I don't care. Anyway, now the moon and the Christed feminine path. Yeah, so if we think about Jesus' story, i.e. the sun journeying through the 14 houses, it's mirrored in the moon's journey, but with a key difference, right? Because the sun's path is one of external mastery, i.e. shining light into the world, right? Whereas the moon's path is one of internal transformation, facing darkness and coming out reborn. Two sides of the same coin. Yeah? Cool. This is why Mary Magdalene, yeah, or 33, if you know, you know, the moon, because she actually symbolizes the moon. If you don't know, Mary, the name itself, the etymology is mare, which connects to the ocean. Sea is emotion. So Mary Magdalene is the moon, allegorically speaking. And that's why she was always beside Jesus. Even in the painting of the Last Supper, she's there, okay? She's always beside Jesus, the sun, because both masculine and feminine must complete their 14-house journey in order to awaken fully. Yeah? Both of them. Because both parts of consciousness must awaken. One can't do it without the other. This is why I make these PSAs to the feminines as well, because we need each other in order to awaken collectively. You are the doorway to new realities. If you haven't awakened, or you're still in your stupid fucking animalistic nature, yeah, what good is it if all the men have evolved or ascended? No use, because you will still be birthing trash realities. Do you understand? It's really important that both aspects awaken fully. Okay, so the moon's journey can be seen as the feminine path to mastery. Yeah, the sun represents direct action, as I've told you, while the moon represents reflection, depth, and mystery. Both follow the same cosmic map and roadmap. Yeah, but the feminine path requires navigating deep emotions, cycles, and phases of rebirth. 2. The feminine path also requires facing hidden knowledge, dreams, and subconscious mastery. 3. The feminine path requires the feminine to become the high priestess, fully embodying the divine feminine energy. Just as the moon reflects the sun. Not technically true. But it can be said. Yeah, women are mirrors of divine consciousness. Yeah, they absorb, transform, and give birth to new realities based on the light that they receive. Do you understand? So the journey of the moon through the 14 houses is not just a celestial pattern, it's a roadmap of every woman's awakening, really. Do you understand? So although, yes, both sexes, it's not sex exclusive, talking about the sun's path being applicable to both of us, yeah? The moon is actually specifically speaking about the feminine path. Because yes, you will go through the trials and tribulations and stuff like that, but your cycle through the 14 houses is different. Whereas a pure masculine, divine masculine will spend, 30 days in each house, transitioning from, one phase to another. You as a feminine, you're only spending 2 days there, but at the same time, it's more intense. It's more emotionally, heavy for you and all the rest of it. You see, these are, when you actually look at this in a kind of like broader sense, you will see why women tend to mature or develop quicker or faster, girls developing quicker or faster than boys. Because imagine, because birth or even growth as toddlers and children is all part of the same 14 house roadmap. So let's strip it down in a basic sense. Let's say you're born, and by the time they are at 6 months, yeah, the boy has only gone through 6 houses, right? But the girl at 6 months has gone through all the houses multiple times. Do you see? So her development is quicker. Do you understand? Because she's only spending 2 days, yeah, in each house. So at the end of month 1, at the end of 30 days, she's already been through the houses, all 14 of them. Yeah. Month 6, she's been through all 14 houses 5 times, 6 times, right? Whereas the masculine has only done it once. He's not even completed his full circuit yet. Do you understand? So you see this, it plays out. That's why women will mature generally faster than boys. And it's not just in the 3D sense, because there is nothing in the physical. Yeah. Energetically, what happens in the spirituals, what dictates what happens in the physical. Yeah. We know this by now. So this roadmap is super important. I know I was rushing a little bit, but it's all there. So enjoy. I'm gonna go chill now.